Hi, welcome to So You Think You're Awake, the show about life transformation through dream interpretation. I'm Michael Sheridan. On this show, through analyzing your dreams, I reveal your potential and the obstacles you need to overcome. I'm very specific. I tell you the magic power you have, what makes you magnificent, and the bumps in life that are holding you back. These bumps are not in the way, they are the way. To get your dream analyzed on my show, go to dream-analysis.com, fill in the form, and submit your dream. Please do, because they're the lifeblood of the show. I can't do a show without them. So this is August 24th, 2020. I'm saying the date because Anne Tucker is rerunning her Unleash Your Vision series of workshops again. It's all free, starting this evening. So go to annetucker.com and get on board with that. That was fantastic. The last time around I joined in, I did that myself. I thought it was brilliant. And why am I bringing that up, and why is Anne running it again? Because I'm still getting a lot of dreams about prophecy and about things coming our way that we don't necessarily think we would embrace. And as part of that, I've got 3 in during this week. It's just like, it's really amplifying. And one of them was from my friend, Erika Larsen. And so I asked her, would you be happy enough to come on the show and be in the spotlight and we'll talk about your dream together. And she agreed. Now, Erika is a psychic energy healer, but we'll let her say more. Hi, Erika. Thank you for coming to the show.
Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for having me.
So do you want to say a little bit about yourself? Like, this dream is a prophetic dream. Have you ever had prophetic dreams before that have come true?
I have, yes. I had one of, for example, 3 years ago, I had a dream that a tree fell into my apartment, and it scared me so much it woke me up, and I had a hard time falling back asleep. And then not maybe 2 days later, we had a windstorm and a tree actually fell on my building.
Which is so freaky. I mean,
I know.
So very good. And were you watching for it like 2 days later or whatever it
No,
was?
well, I didn't realize I had prophetic abilities at that point. Because this was maybe 3 years ago, and I didn't know that was a thing yet. And so I was shocked when the tree actually fell, and I was like telling all my neighbors, I had a dream about this, and I looked like a crazy person.
Okay, yeah. A lot of people who have prophetic dreams, they feel that like, this is crazy. You know, how could I know this? But it's interesting so you're credentialed from the spirit world. You're credentialed. You've had dreams, and you know that you get them and they're going to come true as you've had them. And I've looked at many of your dreams, as I do with many friends of mine. I do their dreams. You also had a dream that your grandfather passed.
Yes, I did. I've had a couple medical dreams. So I had the one about my grandfather passing, and it happened about 4 a.m. And I didn't know that was what I was experiencing when it happened. So it was very disturbing. I actually woke up thinking that I had like an entity like exorcised out of my body. It was very dramatic and kind of violent in the way that it happened. Again, couldn't fall back asleep, had to put on some lights. And it was around 4 a.m. The next morning, after I was able to finally fall asleep, I woke up to a call. Around 11 a.m., I was informed that my step-grandfather had passed at 4 a.m.
Isn't that
So,
so yeah. I find it funny you say you woke up and you turned on the light, but you're a channel. You talk to spirits all the time. You know they're still there when the light's on.
It makes me feel more comfortable. I was afraid of the dark for a long time as a child.
I was too. I was terrified of the dark. And when I became aware of the spirit world and that it was real, then I was no longer afraid of the dark. So it's like it's backwards. I was afraid that something might be in it there, and now that I know it's there, it doesn't bother me, which is really funny. Just shows you I must have fallen on my head as a kid or something like that. But you talked about entities. I'm glad you did, because it reminds me, on last week's show, I had Elizabeth Rose on, and we talked about clearing entities. And I said, and when you clear them, Elizabeth, they never come back. And after the show, she corrected me. She said, sometimes they do. So maybe you should let people know that. And I meant to say it at the start of the show. And I knew this too, because what tends to happen is people who get entities are people who like dabbling in the spiritual field, and they go a little bit further than they should. And I said, think about an entity the best way to describe it is think about an entity like a dog called Rover, and somebody gets rid of Rover, and you say, is Rover gone? Is the entity gone? And you go, hang on a second, and you open your front door and you shout out, Rover! And of course, the entity's going to come back. So if you go looking for them, they'll come back. If you keep up the same habits that you had beforehand, they'll come back. But what Liz was talking about on the show was, and I was talking about, was healing the wounds in childhood that caused them to get in the first place. They never come back if you do that. Anyway, so a slight digression. Shall we have a look at your dream and just take it from there, see what we step into?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm going to read it out because I drew the short straw. So you said, I was just walking through the aisles of a store, shopping with other women and looking for skirts for a bridal party, and we're having a hard time finding the right one. Some of the skirts are black denim with fringe on the end or white short mini skirts. I seemed to grab a bunch of things as I was unsure what to get. I was trying to track down the person whose wedding it was to get their approval. I wasn't in the wedding, I was a guest. Okay, so the first part of the dream is about you having the ability to channel. That's what weddings are about. Okay. That's what aisles are about. Now, weddings can be about other things as well. But, you know, uniting male and female aspects. But the aisles of the store and all that tells us definitely it's channeling. So you can channel. Is that what you do with your clients? Do you channel a lot?
I do more and more, especially as my work evolves. I do a lot of channeling of their emotions during clearing sessions, and it actually gets to a lot of the root causes of what I used to approach with like hypnotherapy and inner child work. It's just another angle that the guides are having me use. It's more effective because we'll jump from a current issue that they're having today and then down to something at 5 years old and then up to 14 and then back up to 20 and then back down to 6. It's like, it's so fascinating because you can feel the different ages and experiences of the channeling of the emotions. And then oftentimes after we do the clearing out, the guides are coming in at this point and giving them direct messages. So it's becoming really neat the way that it's unfolding.
It is. And because that's how it actually is, like something that happens today or happened recently that bothers you, it's really something else that was the foundation that allowed that bother you or whatever happens to be. And so it sounds like you're going all around the houses looking for the bricks that make up this foundation. I like the fact that you say that you channel the emotions because I don't express emotions very well. And I love talking to channels who will cry instead of making me cry.
Oh, it is. And I've actually had clients stop me and say, I don't want you to take this on. And then my voice goes back to normal. I'm like, I'm fine. And they're just, because they're over there feeling the emotion from my voice, thinking that I'm really distraught when it's really just me channeling their emotion. And it's so powerful. Yeah.
But it's very healing for them. Mm-hmm. So like, and I know because I've had this, it's very healing for the person that you're channeling for if you express the emotions. Mm-hmm. Like there's something special about that channeling link. Anyway,
I had a client recently who had lost her mother, and we did a grief session, and it was because she couldn't get to the emotions. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Really, really good. Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds strange to anybody listening. It'll sound strange, but I can testify that it's how it works when you've got a really good connection, like a trance level connection. Anyway, I then arrived at this beautiful venue on the main floor of a tall city high rise. It was very luxurious. People were getting ready for a society wedding. Everything was going on like normal. Somehow I ended up leaving the venue and exploring the rest of the building. My friend, who is passive and avoids conflict, lived below the venue. So that means you're kind of passive and avoid conflict, or at least that's your preference. There were tons of less expensive residents down there, like its own town. A massive wall was built holding up the venue. It seems like the upper levels were held by the wall and owned by the rich people, and below were less wealthy. I knew that something was coming. So this is why we're doing this dream. I knew something was coming and the wall wasn't going to hold. I knew water was going to wash it away along with ruining the town. It was going to wash away and ruin all of the homes underneath holding up the structure. I tried to get my friend to come with me and wanted to warn people. I didn't know how because it sounds crazy. I was then in the aftermath of the crisis, wading through the murky floodwater. I couldn't see through the water and I was scared that there were crocodiles and dinosaurs in the water. And I'm just going to read one more little bit. I then realized the floodwater contained soap, I assumed for cleansing reasons. I love that. I love that. It's like, you know, it's a dream when that gets thrown in there because a person wouldn't think of adding that in. So here's what's going on in your dream. You have this in a dream, when you know what's going to happen, that's another symbol for prophecy. So if that happens in your dreams and then it happens in the dream, then it means you're prophetic. Now, we already know you're prophetic from your other dreams. I'm just looking, do I need to read a bit more? Well, what we've got is we've got two societies. We have the very, very rich, supported on walls on the upper levels, and we have people who are less wealthy below, and that this is going to come in and it's going to ruin everything, including presumably the structures up above. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to comment on the soap bit. We'll come back to other parts in a while. The soap is about, it says, okay, this is going to happen. So you said you were afraid there was crocodiles and dinosaurs in the water. So this is about fear. So this happens, and there's all sorts of fears come up, that life is threatening, because water is about life. And so life is threatening because there's crocodiles and dinosaurs. I mean, dinosaurs aren't real, but, it just expresses the fear that has to be overcome, like things that we never thought we'd ever have to face. And here it is coming in on top of us. But then the water contains soap, so it's saying this is a cleansing thing. This is a healing. It's meant to help heal the planet or heal us. We'll get to whichever it is in a bit. You say, I followed a pathway back to the wedding activities. There were crowds of people, young people, coming into the party to take advantage of the fancy wedding, like influencers or spring breakers being bussed in. I asked if they even knew the people in the bridal party, and they didn't care. They just wanted to have fun and be seen with the rich. I passed all of them, ignoring them and their ignorance and opportunist attitudes, especially the guys. And I walked through the door that everyone was coming in through. On the other side of the door, the bridal party was filtering out of their pre-wedding activities and lining up to go to the wedding. My other friend, who is super competitive and thinks very highly of herself, she takes up all the space in the room, but just wants to drink and have fun, is what she wrote. She came flying by very fast and very drunk. So she's in character in the dream. In her long, dark purple blue dress and at full speed, she flipped head over feet like a stiff board multiple times until she fell flat on her face and started laughing. I checked on her, worried that she was injured. Her bridal dress was ruined, and she didn't care or seem to notice there was a problem. They were all heading to the wedding, and it was then that I realized, as I was standing upstairs, that when the massive wall gives out to the flood of water, the entire high-rise structure was going to fall with it. I stood there surrounded by people going about their lives unaware, knowing there was nothing I could do. It seems like no one was safe. Okay, so I apologize. It seems like a long dream, but it's very poetically written, and writing is one of your skills. So what do you make of that dream? The part that really stands out to me is how unaware people are. Mm-hmm. And that people are living lives that aren't the lives they're meant to live. Like somebody just wants to drink and have fun, completely unaware of the dangers and all sorts of stuff. So I asked you about that. Do you spot that in people? Do you see that in people?
Oh yeah, I do. Of course. It's like, it's interesting being more of a spiritual, obviously, person, looking at someone who's just very human and having a very human experience and very asleep to anything beyond their immediate reality, and I kind of see them as a type of people that would be arguing whether or not aliens exist or if ghosts are real, or, they're looking for what they're going to, the next party that they're going to go to. I see it from a broader perspective. When you're a spiritual person, you see it as a little bit, it's a human existence. So it's, I dare say, a little bit more basic, and not in a way to offend people, but in a way that they're just not awake. They're not awake yet, and I can't possibly wake them up.
And my show is called "So You Think You're Awake," so we're on the same page there.
Okay. Yeah.
But so here's the thing: how is it you work with people? What do you do with people? Because if that's what bothers you, seeing people not take advantage of their life, not live up to their full potential, what is it you do with people? Do you wake them up?
Yes. So when they're ready for it. So I'm very aware in the dream that there's a lot of people I can't impact. But I do work with a lot of people who are waking up to the reality of spirituality, or to the fact that they have things they need to heal. And that leads them to me. And then that leads them to realizing that there's a larger spiritual world out there, and that they have a purpose, and that they have gifts. And those usually come online through a lot of the healing practices. that we do. And then that takes them down a different trajectory. So it's almost like the sessions are a catalyst to moving in a different direction in their lives.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. Once you get some healing and begin thinking, hey, there's more to life. Like I say at the start, the obstacles aren't in the way; they are the way. And when you grow because of the obstacles that you've had to face, you realize, wow, all this time I was using that as an excuse for not doing X, Y, and Z. And really, if I'd worked on myself, after doing it, I'm so much stronger, so much better because of what happened to me. Not that you ever necessarily condone that, but you know that that it was a catalyst for your growth.
Yes.
And so that's pretty cool. You said, what's interesting is a lot of people like us, we have a bubble of friends who are all spiritual and everything's from a spiritual perspective. And we can forget what it's like for other people. Like that it took something to wake us up. It took something for me. It took something for you. And usually also the very thing that you help people with, like you help people heal traumas, heal childhood issues and so on. Like you've a whole litany of skills. First of all, do you mind if I say what some of them are?
Go ahead.
All right. So you're a hands-on healer, you're a channel, you're a spiritual teacher, you're an intuitive, you're a counselor, you're clairvoyant, you're prophetic, you're a projector, you're empathic, you're a writer, you know when fairies are around, which is interesting, and you're a guide. I mean, that's quite a list. And in fact, even if I didn't say that last one about you being a guide, it wouldn't be surprising to guess at that one because it's unusual to have so many things. But I bet you didn't start your life off with this full awareness of everything. You had to work on yourself to get there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like most healers, I came into a very dysfunctional childhood, right? And had a lot to overcome in the aftermath of that. So, coming into a family with mental illness and addiction and narcissism and just a lot of dysfunction. And then having, I've had my own trauma, sexual abuse, things like that. So I've had a lot that I've had to overcome. And my catalyst was in my 20s, having chronic pain in my body, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. And that's really what got me going down the healing route, because I was looking for all the alternative options. And then I went through a couple of layoffs during the last fall of the recession. And that led me to searching for something more. Because I just remember being at work and being like, there's got to be something more than this, something more fulfilling. And it all just came together. And I've been doing this work for 10 years now. So it's been quite a journey, but I've done a lot of really using myself as a guinea pig and obviously getting help from other people. But I've had to overcome so much that when it works for you, when you figure out something that works, you really dial in on it and you're like, who can I share this with? And then you attract those people, right?
Yeah.
People who come to me, I can help. It's the way it works.
But you usually turn around and the world is full of people like I used to be, which was like, yeah, I can see my mom's problems, my mom's dysfunction, my dad's dysfunction. And in fact, a lot of my brothers and sisters have dysfunctions, but thank God I escaped it all. Nothing wrong with me. And then in my case, I got into this because I started seeing spirits and it didn't fit with my worldview, but I've shared that many times. And it was a shock to me that I needed to work on myself. It's like, you've got to be kidding.
Well, and we oftentimes will resist it until something pushes us to the point where we're like, we can't not do that thing, and we can't not pursue it. And I think that's true for healers too. Like we kind of get put in a corner when, and if we're awake enough, we'll take the message and say, okay, I got to do this. And that was definitely true for me. Like I resisted it. I dealt with a lot of chronic pain and did not associate it with my childhood. And that's exactly what the problem was.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And I've sent people to you that have chronic pain because I know it's one of the things that it's always whatever you have experienced and had to work through yourself, they're usually the things you're best at. Not always, but it's usually that's the case, things that you were able to completely overcome.
Absolutely.
So what about the other things in your dream? I like you have your friend that comes in very drunk. She's in her long, dark purple blue dress. So the person who's very drunk and just wants to be the life and soul of the party are the people that don't care. You talk about other people who come in. They just wanted to rub shoulders with the rich, and they didn't care. They just wanted to be seen with them and didn't care about anything else. It's not where they're meant to be. And so you're obviously looking at life and looking at people in life going, this is not what you're meant to be doing. You need to wake up. You need to do the right thing. And then you have this other person who's drunk. So I'm going to say, with the way she sucks all the air out of the room, or grabs the spotlight in the room is probably a much better way to put it.
Yes.
It means then that you also see situations where the person who doesn't have the skill is standing in the spotlight and not helping other people because, and in fact, preventing the help that other people need.
That is very accurate.
And so we see part of that in the long, dark purple blue dress. So purple is about spiritual leadership. But when you see dark with it, it means that there's something negative about spiritual leadership. And there's nothing negative about spiritual leadership at all, about the gift. It can just be about how people who have that position can use it in a negative way, like they grab the spotlight, but they don't actually help people. And you also say it's a dress because it works through female energy, which is fantastic.
Well, and we see that through a lot of, I mean, dare I say, spiritual leaders that, you know, maybe they're highly published, they've written a lot of books, but they're all regurgitating a lot of the same things.
Yes.
And maybe they're not necessarily a spiritual leader. Maybe they're just, a new thought leader or a coach. Or they're plagiarizing, and they're famous. They have a great Instagram account, or they're beautiful, or they're a good speaker on stage. And these are all good things. And I think maybe perhaps they're maybe the first rung of the entry point for people down like the self-help journey, for example.
I don't know. I mean, because people like that can actually turn people off.
Yes.
So it's like, you're much better off hitting a person. And I know exactly what you're saying. Like maybe it opens them up because they say, hey, I can communicate with spirits, and you're not going to actually get that person, but you might go search and find somebody else. So I do agree. They probably do wake some people up. But I can't imagine the amount of karma that they get for doing what they do. And I know people who work in the spiritual field who are really only in it for the money, which is kind of funny because there's not a lot of money in the spiritual field.
Well, you see a lot of that in the coaching world too. I've experienced a lot of that in the coaching world. That they're really in it for the money, and they're not actually they're not actually creating a whole lot of value and impact in people's lives. Right.
Yeah. So was there anything else? So, okay. So we have the high-rise structure going to fall. So the structures, this is about the physical structure, the structures in society going to fall because it's the society wedding. And that's the male structures, like anything that goes thrusts up into the skies is a male structure. Now I know I normally say high-rise buildings are about spirituality, but this is a spiritual thing too. And so we had a dream recently where Trump Tower toppled over. And it's, again, I was saying it's about this male structures in society are going to topple. And that's what your dream is about, that these things are going to happen. And so I said, I've gotten a lot more dreams in this week. And I'm looking at the clock, and I don't know how much time we have left. But what is your feeling in this dream? Do you think that there's going to be like a tsunami hits Seattle because you live in Seattle? Because I have had other dreams where people in Seattle are talking about like the structure being unsound, and an Indonesian beam, for instance, being removed from under the subway platforms in Seattle and so on. And that was again recently.
Yeah, it's terrifying to think about, and I do not want to believe that a tsunami is going to hit Seattle, right? So it's interesting because when I originally had this dream, I thought, okay, this is Wall Street falling. Like that was what kind of hit me in the beginning. And so I naturally thought of New York. Yeah. I was like, this is Wall Street. And like, I thought it was interesting that there was a pathway between the two structures, right? And a wall holding up the higher structure. And then the kind of the influencers who just are opportunists, just wanting to get get rich quick. Right. That was kind of their mentality, and them trying to bust themselves into the wealthy area. And so I was like, okay, this is Wall Street falling. So I don't want to put any speculation in whether or not there's going to be a tsunami in Seattle. That would scare me because I live in Seattle, right?
I know.
I want to be safe. I don't want my city to get ruined. I don't want the destruction of the aftermath, but there's definitely the feeling that I had was that a massive change is coming, and it is going to hit everybody by surprise, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be pleasant.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you there. Not like I know any different,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
but I've heard it so many times.
Okay.
And, you know, it's the male structures that are abundant in society today. Like
Mm-hmm.
the whole US government is male structures
Yes.
and very male driven, you know. And if you're wondering if that's true, then think of the fact that there isn't even equality for women in America at this moment in time. Like the women's freedoms and everything else is all done at the whims of Congress, and it can be given
Mm-hmm.
and taken away. It's not actually in the Constitution. Craziness. All that's going to change. It's going to, like, the stuff that allows that nonsense to stand is going to collapse, and that's definitely going to happen. And that's what the Aquarian Age is about that happening. But anyway, you've said it in a positive way. I'm glad. So I won't have half the listeners next week. But could you share, how do people get in touch with you? I know that you do a free consultation,
I
which I think
do.
people might be interested in. And it's really
Yes.
good that you do that. Not a lot of people do that. So how do people find you? And I'll put a link under this on the show on YouTube. But how do people find you?
Sure. So my website, which is erikalarsen.com. It's Erika with a K, Renee with an EA, and Larsen with an EN. A little complicated, but you're going to put a link there, so that's good. I do a complimentary phone consultation. It's about between 30 and 40 minutes. Right now I'm a little booked out, so it takes about 3 weeks to get on my schedule right now. But the consultation is complimentary, and it's a good time to connect, to get to know a little bit about you, build some rapport, find out what it is that you're struggling with, and go a little bit deeper than, the surface.
And who is your
Yeah.
ideal client?
Yeah. So I work with a lot of, obviously, people with childhood trauma. They usually come to me for anxiety, or that they're in transition, or they're stuck in their career. There's usually some catalyst that's causing them to reach out. Um, but mostly people that need help with their childhood, regardless of whether or not they know it.
Uh,
Um,
and then do you come with a warning? You may get interested in the spiritual field from talking to me.
I do let them know that I'm intuitive, and that that I do a variety of different, say, modalities, that have, many of them have intuitive approaches. So if you're willing to be open to that, it's quite therapeutic and healing.
And
Mm-hmm.
I would say, working on your childhood trauma, even if you don't get into anything else spiritual, that's extremely spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you're here, is to work on those
Yeah.
traumas and
Well,
grow.
and when you work on those traumas and you clear them out, your spiritual gifts come online.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yep.
Okay, we're out of time. This has been great. I really love chatting with you, Erika. And like I said, I'll put a link under the show. So thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it.
See you next week, everybody.